for y'all. Let's get started. All right, a little bit of delay, but guess what we got? Number 51, closer to 100 than we are one. The Real with Mel Highsmith. All right, so here we are, Friday, October 9th, 2020. And you just got to think what another wild week we have been through with everything that's been going on. You know, today we're going to start the show off with an update about the stimulus plan, okay, or the CARES Act too. So President Donald Trump has approved a revised coronavirus stimulus package and wants to deal with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. The White House National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow confirmed today. I watched a couple of videos on it, so he's not giving a lot of details, but basically I just think the president's just kind of throwing out the bait to see what's going to happen. The president has just recently met with Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. Kudlow told Fox Business Stuart Varney Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin expects to be speaking with Speaker Pelosi shortly this afternoon. The president has approved a revised package, and he would like to do a deal, Kudlow said. Wow. You know, the wild thing is they're going to say this, yes, I'm a Republican, but I just hate anybody doing a deal with our debt. All the government does is leverage the debt they're going to dump on top of the American people. But anyway, let me finish this for you. Kudlow said he would not go through the details of the deal, but said it would be relatively broad-based. I'm sure kind of similar to CARES Act 1. However, he thinks the package includes what our White House asked have been for assistance for airlines, small businesses, payroll protection assistance, and probably, I can't swear to this, there will be some backup for unemployment assistance. Exactly the things that I've argued will happen, will help the recovery. It's like talking about an insurance contract. It's wild how they put it as an insurance contract because most people pay into their insurance and get nothing out of it over long term. It's never been a totally purist position. The Treasury Secretary said it was just a question of where the money would go and how efficiently the smart the money might be and what the sums are. But I can't possibly go into any specifics. Believe me. Secretary Mnuchin, who is awfully good at this, will be discussing with Speaker Pelosi for the final touches and the details. But they do think a key point is the president has approved the package and, quote, he wants to do a deal. Meanwhile, Kudlow has predicting 20% economic growth for the fourth quarter of this year, and he said today he likes what he's seeing. Well, no doubt. Even with COVID-19 riots in the cities and Mars getting ready to attack, Trump is still building a strong economy. And that's off the backs of the dedicated, hardworking Americans. They also said retail sales are strong, consumers are strong, autos are so strong, are strong. Auto sales are rising so rapidly that the car makers are probably going to have to go into extra shifts in order to increase inventory to meet the demand and added production in the auto industry. That means more workers called back, more overtime for the American middle class, blue collar workforce, and that's going to trickle through to a family income. Okay, so with Trump's offer on the stimulus package, I think we are going to move it in the right direction, Kudlow said. The gap is narrowing. The bid and the offer, if you will, have narrowed significantly, and therefore, in Wall Street terms, there may be a trade for some additional assistance for the American recovery from this pandemic contraction. Well, I'll tell you, this morning when I was just watching the Kudlow interview, and there you have the stock market right to the left of the screen you're watching. As soon as he mentioned that Trump was ready to do a deal, I mean, within 15 seconds, you've seen the stock market jump. So literally, all of America is holding their breaths on this, especially the future of our stock market. Okay, so that's the update on the stimulus. I wish it was going for some people sooner, but like I said, do not see it happening. here in the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to really be right before the election. It's one of the greatest thing to keep people to the polls as much as possible. So, yesterday I woke up to the news that a 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000 icon had passed away from cancer. I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but today I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because a lot of the musicians, me being a musician, and the head of the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society and Texas Music Life, people were pushing me to talk about it. So anyways, I am. None other than Eddie Van Halen, from the guitar virtuoso, whose blinding speed, control, and innovation propelled his band, Van Halen, into one of the hard rock's greatest and biggest groups, and became elevated to the status of a rock god, has died. He was 65. A person close to the Van Halen family confirmed that the rocker died Tuesday of cancer. The person was not authorized to publicly release details in advance of an official announcement. He was the best father I could have asked for, Van Halen's son, Wolfgang, wrote in a social media post. Every moment I've shared with him on and off stage was a true gift. Many young men, my heart goes out to Wolfgang and his family, the Van Halen family, everybody. I can tell you this, as being a father myself, when Eddie closed his eyes for the last time, he was thinking of his children. I can promise you that. When I close my eyes every night, that's what I think of, is my kids. With Eddie Van Halen's distinct solos, fueled the ultimate California party band and helped knock disco off the charts, starting in the late 1970s with his band's self-titled debut album, and then with the blockbuster record 1984, which contains the classics Jump, Panama, and Hot for Teacher. I was a teenager in the 80s, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm very familiar with all those songs. Van Halen was definitely a talent. So Van Halen is among the top 20 best-selling artists of all time, and the band was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007. Rolling Stone magazine put Eddie Van Halen at number 8 in its list of the 100 greatest guitar players. Well, I think if there's anyone that's probably better, would have been Randy Rhoads, especially when it came to rock, but I don't care what they say for the other ones. You know, it's a tight 1 and 2, Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, just in my opinion. And this is an opinion-based show, okay? So, you know, Eddie Van Halen was actually something of a musical contradiction. He was an autodidact who could play almost any instrument, but he couldn't read music. He was a classically trained pianist who also created some of the most distinctive guitar riffs in rock and roll history. He was a Dutch immigrant who was considered one of the greatest American guitarists of his generation. That's wild, because all of us were touched by musicians when they pass away, especially the upper echelon musicians. I can tell you this, just in my area alone, I know probably 50 musicians that can play every instrument, and they cannot read music. So Eddie Van Halen, you're not alone. Just for a little time, because we'll all be joining you up there for the great concert in the sky. So, honors came from the music world, from Lenny Kravitz to Kenny Chesney. You changed our world. You were the Mozart of rock guitar. Travel safe, rock star. Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx said on Twitter. Heaven will be an electric tonight, was one of the comments Lenny Kravitz made. The members of Van Halen, the two Van Halen brothers, Eddie and Alex, vocalist David Lee Roth, bassist Michael Anthony, formed in 1974 in Pasadena, California. They were members of a rival high school bands and then attended Pasadena City College together, to where they combined to form the band Mammoth, but then changed to Van Halen after discovering that there was another band already called Mammoth. But that icon name, Van Halen, you just cannot beat it. You cannot beat it anywhere. Their 1978 release, Van Halen, opened with a blistering Running with the Devil. I know that one. I played in a couple of bands with my kids, and that is one of the songs we actually covered, was Running with the Devil. And then Eddie Van Halen showed off his astonishing skills in this next iconic tune, Eruption, a furious, 1 minute and 42-second guitar solo that swoops and soars like a deranged bird. The album was also contained a cover of Kinks' You Really Got Me, and ain't talking about love. Van Halen released albums on yearly timetables. Van Halen 2, 1979. Women, Children First, 1980. Fair Warning, 1981. Diver Down, 1982. Until the monumental 1984 would hit number 2 on the Billboard 200 album charts, only behind Michael Jackson's Thriller. Rolling Stone ranked the album 1984 number 81 on its list of 100 greatest albums of the 1980s. Eddie put a smile back in rock guitar at a time when it was all getting a bit brooding. He also scared the hell out of a million guitar players around the world because he was so damn good. And he's original, just like Lace Pawn and Jewelry. Joe Satriani, a fellow virtuoso, told Billboard magazine in 2015. Van Halen also played guitar on one of the biggest singles of the 1980s, and that was Michael Jackson's song, Beat It. If you did not know it, now you do. His solo lasted all of 20 seconds. It took only half an hour to record. He did us all a favor, said producer Quincy Jones, while the rest of his Van Halen bandmates were out of town. Van Halen received no compensation or credit for the work, even though he rearranged the section he played on. It was only 20 minutes of my life. I didn't want anything for that. He told Billboard magazine in 2015, I literally thought to myself, who is possibly going to know if I play on this kid's album? Rolling Stone ranked Beat It number 344 on its list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. But sadly, with strains between David Lee Roth and the band erupted after their 1984 world tour, Roth quit. Boy, that was a mistake David Lee Roth made. I'm sure he just kicks himself in the ass over that one. Some critics call the new formation with another singer, Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, called Van Hagar. And the band went on to score its first number 1 album with 5150. We all know that one was great. Hagar was ousted in 1996, and former Extreme singer Gary Cherone stepped in for the album Van Halen 3. A stumble that didn't lead to another album and a quick departure of Cherone. Oh boy, it was real quick. He's out of the band real fast. Roth would eventually return in 2007 and team up with Van Halen brothers Wolfgang Van Halen on bass for a tour and an album, Different Kind of Truth, and the 2015 album, Tokyo Dove Live in Concert. It's a wild thing. I'll tell you, just when being a musician and when one of the icons die, we all have, lack of better words, our idols of musicians. Me, I like Elvis Presley, Ray Charles, Waylon Jennings, and Merle Haggard, George Strait, summing up back into that one. But, I've seen guitar players, just look at my younger brother's eyes when he asked me yesterday, did I talk on the show about Eddie Van Halen? He was like, please, I hope you did. So I apologize to the ones that I couldn't do it. I had my monologue yesterday was already pre-done, so I had to get through most of it. So, anyways, Van Halen said his earliest memories of music were banging pots and pans together, marching to John Philip Sosa marches. At one point, Eddie got a drum set, which his older brother coveted. I never want to play guitar, his older brother, Eddie said. He confessed at a talk at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in 2015. But his brother was good on the drums, so Eddie gave in to his brother's wishes. I said, go ahead, take my drums. I'll play your damn guitar. And the rest was history. Right? He was a relentless experimenter who would solder different parts from different guitar makers, including Gibson and Fender. He created his own graphic design for guitars by adding tape to the instruments and then spray painting them. He said his influences were Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. Van Halen, that'd be Eddie Van Halen, sober since 2008, lost 1/3 of his tongue to a cancer that eventually drifted into his esophagus. In 1999, he had a hip replacement. I can understand that, and a lot of other guitar players will back me up when I say this. My left hip is killing me from leaning on it for all these years. He was Eddie Van Halen was married twice to actress Valerie Bertinelli from '81 to 2007, and then to stunt woman turned publicist Janie Liszewski, whom he wed in 2009. I am so grateful Wolfie and I were able to hold you in your last moments, Bertinelli wrote on Instagram, showing an image of their baby son. I will see you. This is what Valerie Bertinelli said. I will see you in our next life. You got to admit, it's always an emotional thing. You know, I had to hold back my tears thinking about that. Mm, mm. I just hope that in the end that I can have my wife and my kids with me like he did. Wow. Okay, so out of that and into some more stuff. You know, I covered it yesterday about Nancy Pelosi and this 25th Amendment crap. But I think I got it zeroed in of why she's doing it, because it's a trial run. She's just bringing it up right now, see if they can find the things with Donald Trump and his coronavirus diagnosis, so that she can turn around, and if Joe Biden had a shot to win the presidency, this is how they'll get him out of office. So they're just softening up the American people, getting those juices flowing. So House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said a new proposal to create a commission that would review the transfer of powers procedures under the 25th Amendment has nothing to do with President Trump's coronavirus diagnosis, and it doesn't. Because if Joe Biden wins, she plans to try to unseat another president. During today's appearance on the most reliable network in the world, and this is a joke, MSNBC's Live with Craig Melvin, Pelosi said the bill is about the Constitution and the continuity of the government, not the president's fitness. She says the bill creates a path to the continuity of the government if the president becomes incapacitated. Noting adopting the procedures would actually protect the president. Well, I'll tell you something, Nancy Pelosi. In 2020, I don't think you have the president's interests in mind at all. I just don't. I just don't. You left-leaning liberal lunatic, all you're ever worried about is what kind of power you can grab and take away from the American people. Now, the fact is, this is her words, the fact is this would protect President Trump because it says it isn't about anybody's opinion on his behavior, she said. The commission would be made up of healthcare professionals and statespersons chosen equally by Democrats and Republicans. She said, adding there would be a strong role for the vice president in what would happen should the president be incapacitated. Well, of course, because if Kamala Harris is there, that's that person, okay? I mean, you got to admit, are people blind here in America? I mean, let's honestly be real. Are people blind and deaf? Let's take it that far. That they cannot see that the lunatic liberal Nancy Pelosi has not tried to run a coup on one president. She's going to try it on two. And if it worked, she'd probably get away with it. This woman does some despicable crap. And so I can't believe I'm having to even talk about this third time, but y'all got to know about this. So Nancy Pelosi noted that the bipartisan commission would remove any biases that people may have in discussing a possible transfer of power. Just envision a situation where a president might become incapacitated, bumping a head, a stroke, whatever it happens to be, even temporarily. This says how the process could go forward, she said. This isn't the first time a bill proposing a presidential capacity commission has been brought forward. Representative Jamie Raskin introduced a similar bill 7 years ago and is reintroducing it now. Pelosi added that the legislation, if approved, will apply to the winner of the upcoming election. Think about that. Not one president, but two. Not one, but two. It's a civics lesson for America, she said. A civic elections for America. America right now is in a fight for its life. And this is not a joke. And I hate being the one to even just to tell all my friends out here in media land It's a fight for our lives. These lunatic liberals do not care about me and you. They only care about their interest. And then you got to wonder when their interests are all the children in another country, but not the children here. All the people in China, but not the people here. All over the world, they have taken everything from the Americans and given it to another country. And when that country sends its citizens here, they try to indoctrinate us into their home country. It's completely crazy. You know, you got to wonder where we're going to be sitting after these elections and all the stuff that America's going to go through. I can only wonder. I know I prepare with everything I have. I do. You know, I have survival packs for my family because if this goes the wrong way, it's going to be fire and brimstone, people, fire and brimstone. So, anyways, just, you know, keep that up and think about that. Nancy Pelosi is just kind of taking this stuff. Does she ever do anything for the American people? I mean, honestly, you got to ask that. What does she do for the American people? I mean, she has spent the last 3.5 years running a coup on the President of the United States. So what is she doing for her own people in her home state? No wonder California is bankrupt. No wonder. You know, all of us have jobs in our lives, so you can imagine you work with somebody at your work. They spend their time telling you how to do your job, and you turn around and look at them and say, man, who is doing yours? Who is doing your job? Nancy Pelosi was put in office to worry about California. But they loft her up to a position now to where she's worrying about what? The president's job? The president's job. I guess back in the day when she was running around JFK that she thought that she has the foot into the White House. So why not? That stuff, you can look it up. She was an intern back in the day. So who's doing Nancy Pelosi's job when she's wearing at all times what Donald Trump is doing? Is it her aides? What? I mean, she's so hard at work now on another coup, thinking, okay, we've got the fraud down. We're going to be able to steal this election. So let's start working on how we can run the coup on Joe Biden. And they're like, Nancy, he's in your own party. She goes, whatever, I'm liberal. It doesn't pertain to me. I can do whatever I want. I can betray whoever I want. I'm a liberal. So poor Joe Biden, hypothetically, wins the election. I give that poor misguided soul a couple of weeks before they run the coup on him, has his little hind part thrown out of the White House, probably put in some mental home for dementia, because they're going to cut him off the medication for sure. For sure, they'll cut him off the medication. And you're going to have old Kamala Harris. She's going to walk in, although they're promising right now they're not going to shut down any of the jobs and coal-fired plants and fracking. You can bet your bottom dollar. You can bet your bottom dollar they're going to do it. They're going to take AOC's unbelievable $2 trillion, a $2 trillion, not billion, trillion dollar plan. Sack all the fracking, sack the coal mines, sack everything. Cost America their jobs and ship them back overseas, because what do they have to lose? Because the suckers, like the one on the camera and the people watching it right now, us, the American people, we pay that woman and these people for life. For life. So what do you do with everything, right? What do you do with everything? You know, you never know, so you just got to plan ahead. So, okay, well, I get nauseated when I talk about Miss Pelosi too much, so let's talk a little bit about saving our children. Because of people like Nancy Pelosi's focus is on the foreign powers of the world and not about the American people. Because make no bones about it, the one behind Biden and Harris is Nancy Pelosi. She does not care about the children of America, so that leaves it to us to do something about it. Protecting our children is what we're born to do as parents. But now we have to look through our peripheral view at all the other kids around us. So hashtag save our children. We have to make sure we keep this word out there going. So these politicians who seem to ding their head just as soon as they get into office and forget about the people who put them there and the people, the little kids that are growing up, that are being mistreated by these monsters, these pedophiles, these traffickers, these sick people who deserve the electric chair, right? And you don't hear about it anymore at all. Nothing. The price that we have paid for people to become multi-millionaires was the future of our children. So, my friends, I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you for joining me for a stimulus update, talking about Eddie Van Halen and knocking your lunch out in your stomach with Nancy Pelosi. So with that, I'm going to give a prayer, okay? Here we go. Dear Father, please guide us through the storms of our lives. We need your strength to help us stop the barbarians at the gates. Your light has been dimmed by people in this world who see fit to become the wolves among the sheep. Dear Lord, grant us the power, grant me the power, grant my community the power to make it through this. And in your name, amen. You got to love everybody. So anyways, I got a little bit of treat. I'm going to go ahead and do the full version of this old truck. That's all. It's the one everybody can get a hold of. If you'd like to get a copy of this, hit me up at societyradiomf@gmail.com, and we'll give you information, send you the links. But here you go. This is what I'm going to do. It's a whole tune. It's a little bit different. You're going to like it. Listen to that bass.
No cares running by, no wind in my hair, and I moved on down the road, gospel everywhere. Every day that I drove you, headed down that road, windows down, that radio blaring, a guardrail didn't hold. This old truck, she has saved me, she is all I got. This old truck, truck, she just died. Sure did make me cry. Every day that I drove you, headed down those roads, windows down, that radio blaring, a guardrail didn't hold. This old truck, she has saved me. She is all I got. This old truck, she has braved me. When will she stop? Truck, she just died, and now I started to cry. Every day that I drove you, headed down that road, windows down, that radio blaring, guardrail didn't hold. This old truck never played me. She is all I got. This old truck, she has saved me. When will she stop?
That's the real